as most of you know, I'm a big advocate of education and working to help our kids out, particularly in our state where our test scores are not where we want them to be, and we're still working to make sure we get them up. And I want to talk about a couple things we did this past year that have to do with that. One of the things that we've had a 3-year battle on is the Hope Chest Amendment. And the Hope Chest Amendment basically says that the money that was allocated for the Hope Scholarships will go to the Hope Scholarships and pre-K education. That sounds very basic. Zell Miller instituted this program, as I think everyone knows, and it was a great program. It's been fantastic for Georgia. In fact, every now and then I'll go to a convention or a seminar in another state where a lot of legislators are there, and Georgia's Hope Chest legislation is the model legislation that other states are following to do similar things if they have a lottery in their state. And during the Roy Barnes administration, we discovered that a lot of the monies that was coming in from sales of lottery tickets were not going to pre-K, and we're not going to Hope Scholarships. There are a couple of golf courses that have been built based on those funds. So what we were able to do this year was pass a constitutional amendment the bill for the constitutional amendment in the Senate and the House. And that is no small feat. We have to have 7 Democrats join us in the Senate to get that done, and we did. And so we're very pleased we're able to do that. Senator Joseph Carter, who serves as a floor leader with me, he's from Tifton, Georgia. He carried that legislation. He and I worked very, very closely. And we had to work very, very closely with the Democrats and make sure that they understood. And believe it or not, there were no deals made. This was not a deal-making kind of thing. I mean, that's what you always think about that. But we just sat down and said, this is important. This is what this is meaning for Georgia and Georgia's kids. So we're very happy we were able to get that done. We've tried it for 3 years now, and we finally were able to get that done. You'll have the opportunity to vote on that on the ballot in November of 2008. We put money in the budget to fund middle school graduation coaches. 2 years ago, the governor had money in the budget to fund high school graduation coaches, and we realized in Georgia, particularly in some of our neighboring counties, and Spalding County is one of them, the dropout rates are extremely high, and we've realized that kids are dropping out at 14. They're dropping out at 13, and there's not a whole lot of hope and options for them after that. So we're able to put some money in the budget to fund middle school graduation coaches. After we've had the high school graduation coaches for a little over a year, we discovered that it's working, and the numbers are going up or down if you prefer to look at it that way. And so we're very excited about being able to do that as well. A bill that I was really intimately involved with was sponsored by President Pro Tem Eric Johnson from Savannah. It was Senate Bill 10. And a lot of you may have heard a lot about this or read something about this in the AJC. I know Jim Wooten became a big fan of this bill early on and wrote several articles about it. It's a special needs scholarship bill. And it's an issue that's very near and dear to my heart. If any of you have any family members or if you've ever been had any personal relationships with a special needs student, you understand. My sister is a special ed teacher in Coweta County, and for her it was a calling. She was she actually worked with Mr. Ballard years and years ago, and she was a paralegal, and she taught Sunday school, and she had a couple of special needs kids in her Sunday school class, and she felt a calling to go back and get her master's and teach, and that's what she's doing. And trust me, it is a calling to do this. This special needs scholarship allows parents to move their special needs kids to a different school system, to whatever the case may be, and a portion of the funds go with them. Not many parents are going to take, it's based on a Florida bill, a Florida law. Not every parent is going to take the opportunity to do that and is going to take advantage of that, but what we want to do is give those parents the option to do this and support them in their efforts, because every day for them, every decision they make for their child, it's a major deal. It's not easy. So we were able to do that. We're very pleased we were able to do that. While we were talking, I mentioned Griffin. I'll mention Griffin again. We were able to put a couple things in the budget for the UGA campus down in Griffin. And if you don't know, UGA, University of Georgia, has a satellite campus in Griffin. It's great and growing. We had $1.3 million in the budget for that. And this does not just affect Griffin and Spalding County. It affects the entire South Metro area. We also had $2.5 million in the budget for Griffin Tech. And those schools, people are coming up from Barnesville. They're coming up from Zebulon or Molina and Pike County. They're coming down from Fayette and over from Coweta and over from Clayton and Henry. And it's a tremendous boom for the South Metro area. And Georgia, the Athens campus in Georgia is almost to capacity. They can't grow anymore. They don't have any more land. There's plenty of land in Griffin, Georgia, so we're glad we were able to do that down there. seeing a lot of interest, particularly from South Fayette County students who are looking to go down there and get a degree. And so we're very excited that we can help them in that area. Also, economic development issues, which I would say that falls under. We had a couple of bills, biofuel tax credit, and also a grant for ethanol 85 to encourage folks to find alternative sources of fuel. Obviously, we all know that on the federal issues, we've got to get off this reliance for Middle Eastern oil and what it's doing to us, so we were glad we were able to do that. In Georgia, we've got a great product in pine trees and byproducts from pine trees, and those can be used for fuel. And so we're glad we've got a couple of plants going. There's one down in Dublin, and there's one a little bit further south on the other side of the state. And we think that we're going to be moving in that direction. And Georgia's becoming a leader in alternative fuels. The Kia plant, I think a lot of folks are familiar with the Kia plant and what it's going to do for not only the LaGrange area, but also Coweta County and up into Fayette County. 2,900 people will be employed immediately once the plant opens, and another 2,600 are going to be employed in 5 different distribution centers. This is a tremendous, tremendous asset for Georgia. We lost the BMW plant a few years ago to Alabama, and we're thrilled to be able to get this Kia plant in, and what it's going to do for housing prices and development over on that side of the state is going to be tremendous. One of the things that obviously is very near and dear to my heart is, as many of you know, and a lot of you can relate, my father is a former Delta Airlines employee, retired from Delta, went to work for Delta in 1958, and retired in the early 90s. And we all know what Delta Airlines means to this community here in Fayette County and all points south. We passed a resolution in the Senate, and we had several meetings with the U.S. Attorney General and with our congressmen, our members of Congress, to stop the U.S. Air takeover bid of Delta Airlines. 2 days after we met with the U.S. Attorney General, leadership from our Senate met with him, he ruled that this deal was not going to go through. And we were absolutely just ecstatic that we were able to do that and save Delta Airlines and keep Delta my Delta, as the slogan was. Had this happened and had Delta moved from Atlanta, it would not have just been the end of one airline. It would have been the end of a region. $17 billion a year pumped into that airport through Delta Airlines would have gone away. And you don't just replenish that. You don't just, AirTran just doesn't say, we'll take those gates. That's not how it works. We've seen that with what happened with Eastern Airlines. And many of us lived through that and saw what it did here in the community. When I was at Brooks Elementary School, every student in my 4th grade class, their parents worked for Delta or Eastern, every single one. So, this community, a lot of these areas were built on the airport and the airlines, so we're glad that obviously we were able to help out with that. We had a pay raise for Georgia troopers. Our state troopers haven't had a pay raise in many, many years, and we felt like we needed to do that. They're out every day protecting us, putting their lives on the line every time they pull someone over, particularly if it's got a state Senate tag on the back. And so we want to make sure we gave them a pay raise. No, but honestly, they do a wonderful job, and we don't thank them enough, so we're very pleased we're able to get that done. And believe it or not, that was a very controversial bill and from the other side of the aisle. And some things you can't understand, so you just try to move on. But we've got the votes to get it passed, so we got it passed and just got it done. We had legislation. We defeated legislation. Actually, I'm going to save that for just a moment because it's going to take a minute. Senate Bill 66 is about sonograms and ultrasounds, and basically what it does is it provides the woman who's going in to have more information about ultrasounds and sonograms. And obviously that was a very controversial bill, particularly with some of our liberal Democrats, the female Democrats mostly, to be honest with you. But we felt like we needed to provide these options so that when a woman goes in and is interested in possibly having an abortion, that they're able to have as much information as possible before they make that decision. And that was, I think, Senate Bill 66. Sean is nodding his head. Sean keeps up with that stuff. We established a trauma care commission in Georgia. We got a real problem with trauma care in Georgia. We got a real problem with Grady Hospital. We don't have any level 1 trauma care centers. We've got Grady. If you have an accident, God forbid you're in an automobile accident south of Macon on I-16, I-75, you're in trouble because you got to go to Tallahassee and you got to get airlifted, and timing is everything. We don't have that in Georgia, so what we're trying to do is come up with a better trauma care system. We've got a commission working right now to see what we can do to resolve that, and we're going to continue to do that.